Good evening and welcome to the Hugh Hatrick Show on a very, very special Friday evening because we have a wonderful guest all the way from South Africa. It is Leviticus, as you'll know him on YouTube. It's great to see
Hello.
you, Levi. How are you
Thank you
doing
for having me.
tonight?
Absolutely fantastic. Just a little sick under the weather, but we're here and hopefully have a great time talking to you in the chat today. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's great to have you on the show. A real pleasure. And to have a star of not just the SMA GT500 Championship, the world champion there, just fresh from your title a week past Monday there, which is brilliant. And you really showed how to perform in every race. You were
Thank
right
you.
up there and giving us lots of entertainment and incredible strategic
Mm,
racing, which is great. So when we'll come to the chat in a few minutes' time, and for everyone watching and listening, you can of course ask your questions to Levi. We'll put them to him in a few minutes' time. But it's great to see everybody, and we've got Salim, we've got Mabape, and we've got Mami Khan, who's in the comments so far. So good to see you all,
awesome.
and I'm sure there'll be many more coming in. But the question I always ask everyone that comes on the show is, how
Yeah.
did you get into sim racing? What was it that drew you to think games like GT7 and how you got started?
So it actually started when I was very young. I remember going over to one of my close friends' house, and I'm still friends with to this day, when I was about 5 or 6. And he was playing Gran Turismo 4 on the PS2. And I remember I was so hooked from the beginning. I remember specifically it was like a super impreza at one of the dirt tracks in Gran Turismo 4, I think. And ever since like that moment where I was like, oh my god, this is brilliant, I just wanted more of it. And
Yeah.
I used to play a lot of Gran Turismo 4 at his house until I got my first console in 2010. It was a PS3, and I got Gran Turismo 5 at the same time. And wow, that was the way I got into the racing side of it, and I've been in love with Gran Turismo ever since. Yeah.
It's a great game, isn't it? And the fun you can have,
Mm,
especially when you're young. I remember we used to take, it was Grand Valley Speedway, and we used to go in the Corvette and turn the traction control off. And I remember I was racing a friend and their sister, and we do a split screen race. And
mm,
she once got into a spin in this Corvette and she
yeah.
couldn't control it. And she was just doing donuts for about 2 minutes,
Mm,
trying to get the car back on the track in this Corvette. But it's so, I mean, the evolution of the GT games have just been amazing. And then here we are
mm,
at GT7. But you've been streaming now for about 4 years, coming up 4 years. So
yeah.
what drew you into then streaming? Because that was a big step from playing the game to then deciding to go public and having a go.
Well, so actually, I can add on to the story about my origin, right? And then it led into my streaming thing. So South
Huh?
Africa obviously progressed a little bit slower compared to like maybe a first world country. So we only got internet consistently in like 2013 or so.
Yeah.
So everything was basically offline for me until then. So like there wasn't that like extra Gran Turismo 5 content that you could play. So I was still a fan of GT5, and then GT6 came out in 2013, and that's when that crossover between the PlayStation 4 happened, where we were like, oh, past gen with the new game was weird. But I still kept playing GT6 for quite a while on controller, never on wheel. I
Mm.
only got my first wheel until 2021, but I'll get to that. And honestly, I was a huge fan of the Gran Turismo games, but because it wasn't on PS4, by 2015 time, I sold the PS3 and all the Gran Turismo games, and I was kind of hooked onto the F1 games.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's actually what got me into streaming, because I remember one of my favorite streamers still, or content creators, was JD or Tyrrell Limitless, I think his name is still.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I remember I always just wanted to like play the F1 games and stream them. And I remember getting the first, like, I got all the F1 games until 2021. I
Yeah.
always used to play all of them. And I also played a little bit of GT Sport in between there, but I was more of an
Yeah.
F1 game fan at the time, until around about mid 2021 when F1 2021 came out. And
Mm.
I had some good fun with that,
Yeah.
but it wasn't really a long term. I felt like I
Yeah.
was getting burnt out, and I was like, okay, Gran Turismo 7's been announced. It's coming out in March 2022. This is like August time 2021. And I was like, let's give this a chance. GT Sport is a good game. I played it casual on controller. I've seen some cool guys like Super GT stream it.
Yeah.
And I just took a chance at it, and the community welcomed me in with open arms. I remember one of the first streamers who ever rated out to me was Floor Genius, which
Oh yeah.
what a memory. It was kind of crazy because we've known each other for that long now.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, it's just I've never looked back, really. I've just been part of the GT community ever since. And honestly, I couldn't ask for anything better. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because the Formula One games are quite different. I do like the fact that on many of them you can kind of just jump on and drive, and they're quite nice to drive. You know, they're quite light, and you can throw the cars into the bends, and you got to be fairly sensible, but they are quite nice to drive. It's not. I would say it's different than an arcade, but it does give you a bit of feel, and you can have fun with it. That's certainly for sure.
Yes, for sure.
I find that in the more recent ones, but the multiplayer is a bit too. I don't like it so much because
it's not great.
There's not that many people playing, but also everyone can change setups. I quite like it. You know, really, I was thinking it should be an equal standard setup. You can maybe they can give you like 2 or 3 options. Let's say for 3 different styles of setup, and then you could choose which one you wanted. That does everything to the car. And then that should be it, because otherwise, if everyone's got different setups, you think, well, you've got some, you have some real professionals who get really good setups.
It can be ridiculous.
Yeah, they're going to just drive away because they've got the grip and the braking and everything else, you know, kind of ahead of you. And so that kind of thing, if it was just normal standard setup, or, you know, a fixed one, so you can't mess about with it, then and also you get points so that you can then make your car faster. And I think that's
it was bizarre.
It's kind of just get rid of all that and just have like what you do on Gran Turismo, where you can just jump in and drive with the same car, and it is down to skill at the end of the day to be able to do it. That and also the games aren't that much different every year. And
the thing is, they're not changing. It's the exact same game, basically, from 2015. It's the same engine that's been upgraded ever since. So it's kind of just being the same game. I'm not really drawn to the F1 game until they actually create a brand new engine, which is probably not going to happen, seeing EA. But that's the whole kettle of fish you don't want to get into, you know. But honestly, I remember as well, when I started streaming as well, I was on controller initially for quite a while. And I was basically saving up. I had my first proper job then. And every month I saved a bit of money. And eventually I bought myself my G29 that I had for about 2-3 years that I used all the time. And I loved that thing. That thing was amazing. It was a lot of memories of that. And I remember specifically the force feedback in Gran Turismo on the G29 was night and day compared to the F1 game. No matter how much effort you put in to make it feel better on the F1 game, it never worked. And then you go into Gran Turismo and it just felt so natural already. So that was also kind of a push factor as well, just to go to Gran Turismo. It just felt better. That was probably one of the single best decisions I ever made, because it just, the F1 games kind of fell off right when I stopped streaming them. The 2022 and 2023 games weren't as good. So
I think also that was a big thing after the Hamilton and Verstappen event in 2021.
Oh, yeah. I can't even get into
that. A lot of people off, didn't it?
That's crazy.
That was a game changer. I remember watching that and my hands were over my eyes. I thought, no, it's kind of like, so it's kind of, it was all the emotion from all of that. But yeah, no, it's interesting how it changes. But I mean, because GT7 is such a different game to even GT Sport, isn't it? It's kind of taken it on to new levels. So what's your favorite things about GT7? What do you like about it so much?
I really enjoy the fact that, there's actually quite a few things. I do like the variety of cars that we have. That's the thing on Gran Turismo has always been good at, the variety of cars. They don't do one car specifically really well, but they do a whole bunch of cars really well. And that's the one thing I really like, because there's a lot of variety. You know, if you go to ACC, it's going to be GT3s. If you go to iRacing, it's just very expensive. So Gran Turismo is a really good game to offer a large variety of experiences at a very decent level, a very good level. Not the highest level, but it gets the most of the experience through without compromising everyone, like the newer drivers and the more experienced drivers.
Yeah, that's the thing, because they've got so many cars. I mean, I do quite like the fact that they get kind of normal cars as well. You know, like you've got a Renault Kangoo. I mean, I was joking last night saying, you know, that's what we'll have to do in a lobby race. A Renault Kangoo with racing softs around the Nordschleife. That the one that not be the most fun. But no, it's kind of, they do at least have different types, but which is quite fun. I do think they do Porsches rather well, because I think the Porsche Cayman is great, especially the road version of that. And the 911 is at the GTRS. That they did a year or two ago.
It's that very kitted out road car, right?
And that sounds and feels
that's
amazing.
One of my favorite cars. That's one of my favorite cars in the game as well to race. it's like just fast enough that you can like play around with it, but it's not too crazy that maybe lower skill drivers can't actually approach, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's nice when they do that. I also think, I mean, they've got such a range of cars. It's a pity because I mean, I love like sometimes I'll go into like the hot market, when all the special cars that come
Yes.
up, and you buy like the Ferrari 250 GTO or something. You
Oh,
see
it's
that
ridiculously
money,
expensive.
and it's a lot of money. I thought I've got 20 million credits. I need to spend it. At least it's
For
not
sure.
real. I can spend it, and I won't miss it
Completionist as
too
well.
much. And all these things. So it's quite fun driving. I just wish they would do a little bit more like on Race A, if they could actually have like a Ferrari, where you can just rent the car so anybody can get a hold of it. And then do like, imagine the 250 GTO at Monza or something like
That'll
that.
be quite
No
iconic.
chicane or something like, it'd be quite fun.
I really wish though that the actual developers, right, would just become a bit more creative for the daily races. Like this week, I'm not going to complain. It's been amazing. Nordschleife for Group 1 cars. You can't complain about that. I just feel like maybe for Race A, like you mentioned, we should have a lot more cars that are out there that are way less common, because they do that sometimes. But we got the Radicals this week, which are actually quite common compared to a lot of other cars. I think it'll just be better. But the thing is, I do think that in the future, Gran Turismo is going to be evolving in the new game. I don't think they're doing that much to change GT7 right now. They're just basically putting it like a very steady amount of effort, but not a lot compared to what they can. We already found that out in like the first year of GT7 when they released like 3 tracks. So we know what they're capable of. So I'm pretty sure they're putting a lot of their eggs into the Gran Turismo 8 basket, or whatever they're going to call it. I love GT7 though. Don't get me wrong. It's the most time I put into a game ever. Just a little crazy, but I just think small little changes, for at least us as well as league races as well, having slightly larger lobbies, and also having like slots for spectators alone, because at the moment we're like limited to 14 drivers. That's not ideal. We should at least have 20 drivers, and we know they're capable of doing 20 driver lobbies because the game released to 20 driver lobbies. And but obviously the PS4 is a little unstable because it's quite an old console. So I just think, like, if I could have like just a list of what I want in GTA, I just want 20 to 24 people lobbies, which is like the first thing. We also want to have a little bit more up-to-date race cars. I know people hear this a lot, but they really focus on the sport mode. So we really can't have a Ferrari 458 for the second year in a row in the GT World Series. That doesn't look great. So we just need up-to-date cars. And I just feel the Gran Turismo is living on a gold mine. They've got so many great original tracks. The fact they haven't just released them, because the thing is, right, you've got them. It's your IP. I'm pretty sure it doesn't take nearly as long to create that compared to a real life circuit, which you have to go out and scan, take pictures of everywhere. So I think that would be a great idea if they can just. I really hope GTA has at least, this midfield raceway, Apricot Hill. I can go on.
I forgot about some of them.
El Capitan, there's so many great tracks.
Monaco, but it wasn't called Monaco.
Yeah,
remember, it was Circuit de la Sarthe, or no, Circuit to something.
It was something Azure Coast, Azure Coast.
Yes, exactly. Azure, that's it.
Yeah, I just feel like they're living on a gold mine, and they could really make a significant change to the whole game, or just add more, because they can add cars, right? Cars are great to be added, but actually tracks are even more important to me, because like you can really enjoy a car and that's it. You're content with that car if you're a casual. But if you're also like a sport mode racer, you can only race around the same circuit so many times, even though we've got quite a great variety. I know every single track like the back of my hand right now. It's always exciting to learn a new place to go drive at, which will be hopeful that we get that in the new GTA, but we'll have to see when that happens.
Yeah. I think they should do a little bit more with like with Top Gear. Because sometimes they used to get endorsements. They had like the Lewis Hamilton thing. That was brilliant. GT Sport, and you had to do the runs in the Mercedes, wasn't it? And that was really good because they were quite hard to get them.
It was a long replay value was great.
But I think for a laugh, if they want to get funny cars, because we keep getting like little Daihatsu minivans and all sorts.
And we're getting one next week as well.
That's it. And all these kind of funny little things, which are great. I suppose they add a bit of character. And I've just put in the comments that they should have terrible cars like the Lada Riva, and Samag said, they had the Chrysler PT Cruiser, which was notoriously terrible. Or I always remember the Top Gear program they did on did communism ever produce a good car? And of course, the
Oh
answer
no,
was
I
a
remember
resounding
that.
no. And it was hilarious, when it
Oh,
said
that was
a
a
Yugo or something with one
yes.
one-legged man or something in it. With what did the sign make? And it said, "Oh, if you've got 2 legs and 1 arm or something," But it was
That was a controversial episode. I remember that one. Yeah.
but it was very, very funny, or that kind of thing. So yeah, so I think if you're going to have cars, then have some really bad ones as well, some really good ones, because at least that would be quite funny, having a ladder Eva race or something like that. But yeah, so no, it's interesting how it goes. But I would like to get on to the skill and the approach that you have for
Yes.
Gran Turismo, because now I've had the pleasure of being able to commentate on the SMA GT500 Championship along with Sean. When we've seen you race, you come to racing like very few other drivers I've ever met. You have a
Yes.
kind of tactical decision in the way that you kind of drive. You're not just driving, you are thinking well ahead. And it kind of
Yes,
reminded
definitely.
me a bit like Schumacher. And they always used to
Yeah.
say, Schumacher was that fit and was that kind of ahead of his, ahead of the game, that he was thinking above his driving. Is that kind of the approach that you've tried to come to this? Because you do have a lot of detail when it comes to your interviews.
Yes, definitely. So obviously, when I approach the league racing and very competitive races, it's very different to when I'm doing a casual daily race where I'm just like talking to the chat. I'm fully locked in, and the whole time when I'm racing, like in preparation for a round, I'm always making sure, right? How long can the tires go? How fast? What is the pace? Like, I need to make sure that I'm comfortable in every compound, for example, and I need to have. Well, the thing is that's actually helped me a lot this year compared to last year. Was that now I've got an amazing team behind me, because in the past I would have to test every single strategy, and sometimes there were countless strategies you could pick upon or pick from. And now having a team, we could go, okay, you do this strategy, you do this strategy, and I do this one, and we all test it together. And at the end of the day, we get an amazing strategy. And that's what's helped me a lot this year, is that collaborating with my teammates has helped me become even a better driver. Because if I was solo, it'll be, maybe I'll still get the right decision, but it'll take a lot longer to prepare for. And TNR has been quite amazing for me. I can't really thank them enough. And basically just lots of just knowledge, previous knowledge that I've also implemented into the game when I'm racing, that you can't actually learn until you've experienced. And that's what helps with the daily races. You get thrown into weird situations that you have to react in a very quick moment. And I think that helps me a lot in the league racing, to not buck under pressure.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a huge amount of detail and a huge amount of practice to be able to do. But I suppose by having that, you're ready. You're absolutely ready for the race. And I think
definitely
it's probably that as much as people might try and might try and prepare, to do that level is a level above. And I think that's what gets you, makes you so competitive out there. But that's a good, a very good, very high level of effort. And because my next question would be, what are the skills required of a top line sim racer like yourself, for people out there watching and thinking, how can I go faster? What would be the kind of skills that you would say are required?
To be honest with you, it's all about the mental approach as well. At the moment, I finished top 30-ish of the Manufacturers Cup, and obviously there is probably a few drivers who are quicker than me that finished below me, but it's about consistency. That's the first thing. If you can, obviously raw pace is always great, but also being consistent, because there's a lot of drivers that can do an amazing qualifying lap, but they can't drive for 40 minutes without making a mistake. If you can go 40 minutes without making a mistake, you're probably going to beat the other drivers who are quicker than you, which has been my approach a lot of the time. Even though in the South African league system, I have been the most successful recently. I don't think I'm the best per se. I just think I'm really consistent, and I get close to my ceiling most of the time, compared to others who their ceiling could be higher than mine, but they can't consistently get there. And I always make sure, I tell myself that even when I'm racing in the league, I can always look for more time, because I know it's possible. I know I'm not the fastest driver in Gran Turismo. I always know that it's going to be that Valerio Gallo that exists, that he's going to be quicker than me, and I know there's always going to be more time to find. So I never settle. If you do settle, then you become too comfortable. If you're comfortable, then you're probably not going to be improving. You're probably going to be going slower. So that's been my approach, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it is a thing, because trying to learn even just to go a little bit quicker, in terms of like breaking points.
Yes.
And obviously you've got to make sure that if you're going onto a long straight, get your exit right, isn't it? So don't go in too deep. And I'm a late breaker and I tend to go in too deep. So I kind of like, that's one of my issues. All right, I'll go into if it's a set of corners, like 2 corners, I'll go into the first one too quickly, thinking, oh yeah, I can do that corner well.
Yeah.
And then realize, but my second corner, is not so good. And then so I'm losing on all of that. So it's kind of, what would you say are the some good tips that can help get you a bit quicker when you're going around a kind of GT7 track?
Well, to be honest with you, right, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I remember one of my teammates asking, he was doing really good optimal lap times at Fuji this week in Daily Race B. He was actually doing lap times that, if the optimal lap times, which are about a 2/10 off the world record, but his best lap time was a 39.1. And he was doing really well for segments of a lap, but he was never stringing it together. And my advice to him was actually, you need to crash a bit more. Because the thing is, in sim racing, you can't just hit retry and go again. Then you can figure out, the limit to this corner is exactly that, what you did. Don't go slightly less than that and you're perfect. So honestly, crashing a lot in sim racing is actually a good way of figuring out how fast you can go. Obviously, it's trial and error. So once you figure out, okay, you crash like that, you dial it back a little bit, you're perfect, and then you just try and do that for every corner, really. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing Damon Hill being interviewed by the late, great Murray Walker, and he was saying, you managed to get pole position I think it was for Hungary, or back in 1993.
Yeah.
And similarly, I think he spun during qualifying or practice. And Murray would say to him, "Oh, but you had that spin in practice. What happened there?" And he said, "Well, I was pushing the limits, and I just lost traction, and I spun out."
Exactly.
And then similarly, Frank Williams had said to him afterwards, he says, "Well, at least we know that you're trying to go fast enough. That by spinning off, he knew that they'd gone. He was putting in the maximum effort to get it all done, isn't it? So as you say, you've got to be able to be prepared to crash, and you can do that on sim racing, as you say, without any issues. But let's see, for when you started out, now I know you've been going for nearly 4 years, because you're on Twitch as well as YouTube. So how did that all go? Because it's a big decision to suddenly decide that you're going to stream in front of the public and build your channel like that. What was the reason for doing that, and how is it going?
Well, to be honest with you, I remember making these random Call of Duty videos from all the way from like 2016 to 2020-ish, just very casual. But I always wanted to stream it. And I was like, honestly, I love racing. I'm a huge F1 fan and quite a few, like a big fan in like World Endurance Championship right now. I'm at a GP, various motorsports. So I've got great knowledge overall. And I was like, I want to convey my passion via streaming while I'm racing as well. And honestly, it's been a great journey. I remember in Gran Turismo 7, when it just released, I had like 3 viewers watching me at the time. And I remember when I get my first 10 viewers and then maybe 20, and then I got rated for the first time by Floor Genius. It was insane. It was exhilarating. And people loved my passion for racing in general and my knowledge that I would incorporate into that, because I would always, I'm more of a hard worker than having raw pace type of driver, like Nico Rosberg style, where I would always chip away at it rather than like, oh, I'm instantly onto the pace. That's how I've always been. But I remember people used to ask questions like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I always used to answer them and give advice. And then I would learn, and sometimes they would also give me advice, and I would learn from that. And the journey has been amazing. I remember, I think from the beginning of GT7, we had like 300 followers on Twitch and basically no subscribers on YouTube, to then making some casual YouTube videos here and there. And then Twitch just exploded. I think I went from like 300 followers to about 3,000 in about like 6 months. And then we just kept streaming about 3 to 5 times a week. It was a lot more before this year. I was streaming quite a lot. And I think that did help to like solidify me in the community, that everyone quite knows who I am in the daily races, for example. And then we also made the decision at the beginning of this year to not multi-stream anymore, because I felt like I was dividing my attention amongst my viewers, which was not great. But now we've come back with something a bit more, let's just say, directed to the viewers experience more, where I'm streaming like 2 times on Twitch, 1 time on YouTube, making a video, basically just having a balance, because I feel like streaming too much as well right now, when the game's a bit older, is not ideal. But I'm basically just saving my battery until the new game comes out, which is the goal at the moment. That's the huge goal I have at the moment. Basically setting myself up for that, and we'll go from there. Just basically like Tijani, for example, he was actually not the biggest YouTuber on Gran Turismo until recently, and then he just exploded. He's
really growing, hasn't it?
And even Rory, they're an inspiration to me. Honestly, I love their content. They're very positive people, and I try to aspire to be like that, but the Italian in me comes out a lot. I get a little angry because it happens, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it, and basically just there to have some fun right now, and just not take things too seriously. If it's not like obviously a league race, for example, just have fun. Just if someone punts you off, just brush it off. It happens.
Yeah.
Oh, I've loved the journey thus far, though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is fantastic how things grow and it's great fun creating a community, and then that community interacts with you every week, isn't it? It's like your friends coming back to see you, and you can update them and chat with them, and it's nice, and they support you. And it's amazing to see. I was saying Disney was only at 50,000 last year. I say only 50,000, and then now he's at 150 odd thousand. He's doing incredibly well and more. But I think it's his race guide, his weekly race guide is fantastic. And he's always so quick.
Always watch them.
Yeah, it's the first thing you do on a Monday afternoon, isn't it? So you come in from work, it's like make sure you've seen it. I tried doing some race guides last year, but I couldn't quite keep up the consistency, and obviously I wasn't anywhere near quick enough. But I've got a little bit. Woody Boy has been very kind and says I've definitely got some pace somewhere. I could normally get gold times just unless it's that wretched snow at the Canadian track, Lake Louise, and that.
Yeah,
and the Toyota.
Don't remind me of that.
Oh, I couldn't get gold. I tried so hard for hours and hours and couldn't quite. That was it.
It wasn't fun.
Quite manage it. No, it was not.
Definitely wasn't.
Great. But I do like the time trial. I have to say, it's one of the things. Do you have a kind of racing driver, kind of hero, or somebody that you kind of model yourself on? That you kind of think I would like to, or I'm a bit like him in the way that I approach racing or how I drive.
Yeah, honestly, I've been a Michael Schumacher fan since I can remember. I remember always my parents still got photos of the cars I was drawing when I was a youngster, and it was always like the Ferrari beating the Renault. I remember. That was always that. I always loved Michael Schumacher. That was like my idol until he retired, and then definitely Sebastian Vettel stole my heart after that. And then he retired, and now it's Charles Leclerc. As you can see, there's kind of a recurring theme here. I'm a huge Ferrari fan. Honestly, we're waiting for another title eventually. Like I've even got a Ferrari model just sitting right here. Lego model.
I've got one. Yeah, I've
got several.
No, that's the thing. I mean, maybe with Lewis and Leclerc, it's they've got maybe a good chance. I hope they can get the car, because it's quite disappointing at the moment. They're about 3 or 4 tenths or more off, aren't they? But there was, Lewis won in the sprint race in China.
That was exciting. It was great. I was just it doesn't seem like anything else has come positive or possibly come from that. At
least they're very similar in pace, so which makes me think as soon as it goes forward, it will. I think they'll be right there and causing some good races.
I think Leclerc's the most. He's the most unluckiest driver in F1 at the moment. I think honestly he can fight Verstappen. I think if he has like a car that can actually fight at the front, Leclerc can really do something special, because we saw that in 2022 against Verstappen at the big first half of the season. He was doing amazing. He was fighting wheel to wheel with Verstappen, and he wasn't getting phased by it. I remember one of my favorite drives of his was obviously at Bahrain when he beat Verstappen, and then also another one at Austria, Red Bull Ring, where he also won by overtaking Verstappen 4 times. And you're seeing in the previous race at Miami where Norris and Piastri, obviously Piastri did get past him, and Norris did, but it took a lot longer. I just feel Leclerc is like Max Verstappen's match in terms of racecraft. So I really want to see that. I see them battle for wins. It's spectacular to watch.
Well, I was a big Jean Alesi fan, and so he drove for Ferrari in the early 90s. Just before Schumacher. Just before Schumacher took over. And when it was Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger driving the Ferrari, these great V12, with 17,000 RPM engines that were just incredible. Sounded like nothing else on the planet. I actually saw the race. The only Grand Prix I've been to was the European Grand Prix at Donington in 1993, where I saw Ayrton Senna win. And it was that was the most incredible event I've ever been to in my whole life. It was something. But I've actually I didn't meet Ayrton Senna, but I've been about 10 meters away from him.
Yes,
because
I've also
he came
I've
to
also
my
been to a Grand Prix.
hometown. He came to
Wow,
my hometown
that's
of
crazy.
Duns in the Scottish Borders many years ago because the Jim Clark room is there. It's a museum, and it's much bigger now than it was in those days. But Jim Clark was his hero, and he came to visit and put his name in the book. And it was on a very dull, I think it was a January or February morning, and in the Scottish Borders, it means it's going to be raining, it's dark, it's dull, it's a day when nobody would be around. But the library was right opposite the museum, and I was getting a book out of the library with my father. And when we were coming out of the library, we saw these cars pull up, and then this guy gets out, and it's because it's dark, and he's wearing shades. I thought, who'd be wearing shades on a dark day like this? And I thought, no, it can't be him. And so we didn't do anything. We just got back into the car. My father wasn't interested, and we drove off. Well, 4 days later, we got the local paper, the Berkshire News, and on the front of it was Ayrton Senna at the museum. Wow. And I'm like, oh, it was him after all. You know, I could have gone over and said hello, you know, and it was like, or asked for an autograph or something, but I was only about 18 at the time.
That's wild.
So you were going to say you've met him, or you've been.
I've been to a Grand Prix of myself, and I've been blessed to experience the pre V6 era F1 engines because I went to the 2012 Italian Grand Prix. What a place to be! Yeah. Honestly, it's I've got all the videos and the photos, and I remember it was like I was smiling ear to ear because I got to watch obviously Michael Schumacher race in his last season. I also got to watch Vettel, Hamilton, Alonso. Like all the whole group of the best drivers from that era, and still currently going. So it was honestly the best experience ever. I will never forget that.
Was that not the bit where now Hamilton was racing Schumacher? And Schumacher
that was 2011. That was 2011.
Because they were blocking, and Hamilton loved it. He said, "No, I want him to block because that's what it's all about. I want him to race. So you've got to race." But it was
still brilliant though. It was a great Grand Prix. I remember it was like also Sauber. I think Perez did really well in that race as well, and I think the Ferraris didn't do too well. I think Alonso finished like 4th or something. But it was a really good race. Wow, honestly, I just remember I could see the entire pit straight almost, and I could see at the start they were coming down towards me, and that noise, right? It was your whole body is just like shaking because the engines were so loud. Obviously the engines nowadays they actually have got a bit louder and a bit more interesting, but nothing will compare. Nothing will compare to screaming V8s. Oh wow, it was amazing.
We used to go to testing in Jerez when it was in the late 2000s and the early 2010, 2011, and also 2008. And it was great. You got in for €5 in Spain. €5 to get in. And eventually went up to €10 if you wanted a kind of VIP. Although I don't think there was any difference between a VIP ticket and a normal one, to be fair. But it was great fun. And I remember when we were approaching it, we were about 2 or 3 miles away from the circuit. And as we got closer, you could hear the cars from the motorway. You could actually hear it. It was like a zip. And then I thought, we're definitely getting closer. And then we got about half a mile away. And it was the first time I took my wife as well as with
ridiculously loud.
And she said, "Was that a racing car?" And I said, no, that was just a bee. Just a bee. And it was like zipping past your ear. Because, of course, as soon as you get into the car park and you open the door, you hear this incredible sound.
Explosion of noise.
Yeah, we saw Schumacher going around. That was in 2011 testing. And we saw him. That was the first car we saw. We ran to the chicane. And he was just coming into the chicane. And we saw that red helmet and that silver arrows Mercedes. And it was phenomenal to see him. And I think it's the noise, isn't it? The experience. That you get when you get that. That's what it's lacking. I really hope. I know they're all saying recently they want V10s or that kind of thing again, and maybe in 2029 they might go back to that. I hope they do, because
I just don't see it happening though. I know. I just don't see it happening though. I just feel that they push so hard to go into this direction with the 50-50 power split that now Audi's got sold onto it. Honda's been sold onto the idea that if you pull out now after a few years, you're going to lose those manufacturers, which is not ideal for this image of the sport. And then you're going to have maybe Ferrari stick around, Mercedes. You don't even know how Red Bull's doing. So you've got like 2 established brands. Renault stopped. So you can see the problem was just stopping with the going forward with the 50-50 power split. it's not ideal. But the thing is, that's F1. The thing is, I have grown to love not love, but like the V6s. They're not nearly as loud as the V8s, but they do actually sound pretty great on the onboards now. Again, because they've got those like nice microphones. Because I remember they moved the microphones of the exhaust from 2022 to 2024. They moved them to like the middle of the car, which made them sound a lot worse. And now they moved them back to basically near their exhaust, which is amazing. They sound great again. So if they can just do that for the next gen of cars, I think it'll be all right. We'll see. Maybe there's also be some turbo spooling as well, because there's no more of that like electric MGH thing that's a part of the engine. So maybe we can have some cool little sounds as well. We'll have to see though.
Yeah. I'm hoping they are trying to develop that as well. I think with the new one, because it's that change with the MGR unit or something, isn't it, that they're going to do? And they reckon that will make it a bit louder, and see how it goes. But remember, in 2014, and the
that was bad.
They could hear the crowds because the engine was so quiet.
And they could hear they can actually hear the tires locking up.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah. That it's quite incredible how it's gone, and I mean, I've been to Goodwood a few times, and that's about the only place where you can actually hear the V8s, V10s, and the F1 paddock comes alive, and that's fantastic to watch and to experience. But I think that's part of the show. You need it. The noise was incredible when you went to Grand Prix, or when you watched it. It was something like that, and the kind of the pit girls and all the stuff that Bernie allowed, wasn't it?
Bernie,
all the great stuff that you were allowed to do, and the wonderful conversations, and it was also the historic moments in commentary as well that you would get that would add to the story of it. I remember in 1993, I was watching
back then.
I was watching the French Grand Prix, and because there was a few technical issues or something, and the race had been delayed, James Hunt had been told to release information by Ayrton Senna the night before. And he basically said during the race, with the build-up, knowing everybody's watching and listening across the globe, that Senna would race for Williams for free, so long as he could race against Alain Prost. And he was basically proposing this during the race.
That's quite big.
I mean,
I don't think that would happen nowadays. That would probably create some lawsuits if that would happen nowadays. Yeah.
But it's kind of jaw-dropping stuff. That James Hunt would come out with, and so it was great because it was the intrigue and all these things as well as the race and all that kind of thing that was happening. It's quite a thing. That now we've got a comment here from Whipperman saying that we should bring back famous drivers. He's been putting in the comments. How about Max's Uncle Joss? He seemed to have lots of fiery accidents. Jos Verstappen had some incredible fiery crashes.
I remember the Benetton crash, or the Benetton fire. It was something where I remember also the Benetton, like at Hockenheim, where the fuel flow, or the fuel pump actually burst on the car and then just burst in flames. I don't know if you remember that iconic photo.
Yeah.
I know a random story to that. I remember that Benetton were tampering with the fuel flow meter inside the hose, and then that's what made this whole car burst into flames, because there was too much fuel going into the car and it basically just spilled out. It was crazy.
It was shocking. And he had a massive shunt, I think, involving Martin Brundle as well in Interlagos. I think it was after the Senna S at the end of that straight. And they all went into each other, and if you can see it on YouTube, and they went barrel rolling into the air. And I think they were all okay, but it was a spectacular shunt. It was quite a thing. It was. There was obviously what was the name? It was Andre de Cesaris, and he was like in the 80s and the early 90s.
I remember that name
for crashing. Poor thing. He passed away recently. He had a scooter accident that eventually finished him off, poor thing. But he was always known for having these notorious crashes. He was always a back marker, and he would take people off as they came round to lap him, and all sorts of things. But
all the shenanigans back in the day.
It was quite a thing. But no, I think because you think you're obviously a big F1 fan, you love Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, and it's great to see at least the Ferrari team is doing. They're getting there. I think their strategy.
They're always getting there. They're always just getting there, and then they just let themselves down.
But you need Ross Brawn. Ross Brawn was
Rory Byrne, Ross Brawn. There was a few others that just made that team the super team. Jean Todt, it was crazy. I think honestly, we just have to hold on. It's been 2000. Wait, it's like almost 20 years now. Oh, that's crazy. It's gonna be 20 years soon,
wasn't it?
since the last driver's title from Kimi.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be around here. Wait until it actually happens. It will eventually happen. Let's hope maybe next year Ferrari have the best engine, so then they just win for like 4 years in a row. I would not complain. I would tell them I've waited 20 years for this. I've waited. If that happens, I'll be content. I'll rather not have a Mercedes domination, please, because I've experienced that for 8-9 years. Let's have a Ferrari domination, because we had Red Bull and Mercedes. We're now having McLaren. Let's have a bit of Ferrari, please.
Yeah. Well, I was up early in the morning, and the year was, I think it was 2000, when Schumacher got his first title with Ferrari and in Japan, and we watched him race against Mika Hakkinen, and I had a friend of mine who was over from Australia, and we were all up at 4 in the morning, or whatever it was, to watch it. And of course, he finally won, and it was very close, because it was really just the pit stops that were in it that eventually gave Schumacher the advantage, and he went on and won. And it was incredible to see that. It was quite a thing. This TNR Rubina said, no one thanks Bertrand Gachot enough. I remember Bertrand Gachot. Yeah. Now he was kind of in the 90s, wasn't it? And you had Pedro Diniz. Pedro Diniz, and they had this horrendous advert on the car on F1 magazine saying, "Look who's coming for dinner," or dinners, or something. It's some horrendous thing to try and do it all, but they could only get away with that in that time. But it was quite a thing. But I've met David Coulthard. I've actually met him in Edinburgh at a motorsport show, and he's a really good guy. And of course, he does a lot of commentary now.
I listen to him a lot.
F1. Yeah, so
he does the F1 TV right now. I'm actually a huge advocate for F1 TV. I love Crofty, but DC is actually really good. Alex Jakes, I think he's the best commentator right now. I don't know if you're in the UK, so you're stuck with Crofty.
Yeah, we've got Sky, and
I don't mind Sky. I really don't mind Sky. Once I figured out, Alex Jakes is the Formula 2 commentator, I was like, I want to listen to him, and he's doing F1 TV. I remember buying F1 TV just for the fact that the commentary team was with Alex Jakes, and ever since then, they do like this rotating cast of driver commentators as well. They do DC, they do Julian Palmer, who's quite consistently on there. They also do that IndyCar driver, James Hinchcliffe. Is that him? I think that's him. Yes, and they do some other people as well, which is cool. And I like that variety. Don't get me wrong. I also watch sometimes on Sky just for the nostalgia, because Crofty is iconic still. I'll never forget Abu Dhabi 2021. Yeah, I mentioned it. I know I mentioned it again, but that will always give me goosebumps, no matter how controversial it was. It was kind of crazy. Yeah,
it's one of those historic Formula One moments that get you. I liked it, to be fair, when it was on BBC, and it was Martin Brundle and David Coulthard. I think for me that was my most enjoyable, because they were both excellent and they really worked well together. I don't mind. I like Crofty. I do like some of it. It's different now. I'm not so keen on all the other people that they've got always joining them and all the big build up. I get a bit fed up with that. But yeah, and they got rid of the guys I like. They got rid of Damon Hill and Johnny Herbert, and they were brilliant. They were so funny when they did the grid walk. They were so
blunt as well, though. Sometimes the thing is, I liked having the F1 drivers who wouldn't sugarcoat things. They would tell it for how it was. Nico Rosberg was great at that. Damon Hill was great at that. Johnny Herbert was more of a 50-50 type of guy. But overall, that's why I really did not like Sky anymore, because they just got rid of even Paul di Resta. You can love him or hate him.
Good. Paul was.
He was also good. He was good.
Yeah.
We need more of those people who are drivers, listen, don't get me wrong, Martin Brundle is a great commentator, but he's not a recent driver. He's like 1990s. He's a great driver, don't get me wrong, but we like hearing from drivers who are a part of that era not too long ago, so we get more of an understanding and conveying what's happening than from the 90s, which is a long time ago now.
Yeah, no, it's quite good, and I know what you mean. It's we need to have up-to-date info. Also because it's going to a much younger audience now, which is so
a lot younger. Ever since the Drive to Survive released in 2018, 2017, something like that.
I know it's amazing how it's going, and I think it's from watching the Miami Grand Prix, I think it's hilarious because the way that they build up there, it's so American. The way that they walk out like gladiators as they get introduced onto the before they start the race. which
It's
I
pretty
think is
cool.
actually quite fun because, that is America. That is how they do it in America for a kind of American sports. And so fair enough, it kind of works. I don't know if the Miami track is the best one, to be fair.
Oh, listen,
this year was okay.
It was good. It was good. But listen, I want to say this right now. Right, I'm quite biased, but they need to do a South African Grand Prix. You should see the news outlets are releasing updates every single week, and it's just basically small updates to the information. I'm like, dude, we've got Kyalami. Obviously, it won't be the perfect track for F1. They can do still stuff with it because of they've got some decent straights there. But they got that Cape Town Grand Prix as well that has been proposed with the track layout. It does look decent. It's not bad at all. Honestly, I would just want a South African Grand Prix because, Lewis Hamilton, he is getting old now. It would be kind of poetic to have him race at least one South African Grand Prix. We're just, the thing is it worth sacrificing like Spa for the South African Grand Prix or something like that? I would say as a biased opinion, yes, but also no. I just want to see a Grand Prix in South Africa again because it'll be a great event. There's so many fans here. And the thing is that they say they're a global sport. I know here everyone says this, but if they're saying they're a global sport, they need to have a Grand Prix on African soil. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the thing, isn't it? I remember 1993, Mansell. Mansell won in that. No, actually, it wasn't Mansell. It was...
wait.
Oh, that was 1992. It was 92 when you had Kyalami.
1993 was the last one. So I think it was Schumacher, wasn't it?
Yeah, Schumacher probably would have won it in 93 because Mansell had retired. So he won it, but he won it in 92 because he won the first 5 on the trot. And so I remember, and they were all big build up because that 92 Williams car was incredible.
It was insane.
And all these things. So it's, it's a thing. And Sir Magnus says, bring back the old Hockenheim. Oh, yes.
Oh, the thing is, the old Hockenheim, unfortunately, come on, we can speak about this as well. Yeah. It was too big. Like, you can think about it now from like an actual like circuit owner's perspective. I love that track. I remember racing it on the Project Cars game. They released it like DLC where they just reimagined it, and it was brilliant. But I can also see the drawbacks because as a fan, there's only seats in the actual stadium section.
The grandstand, isn't it? And
the thing is, as a fan, you're only seeing them for 44 or something laps because the track was so long.
It was an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes, but when they condense the track, you get 70 odd laps. And don't get me wrong, I really think it was brilliant what they did for the old track was really cool. But I can also see why they changed it.
It was dangerous. The thing is, I mean, you're getting really high speeds at the back as well.
Yeah, it was dangerous. The thing is, though, it also got a little bit boring in a way with all the straights where they could just condense it. I know it's probably like curse what I just said, but I can also see that just from like making revenue wise, it was just better to do what they did. It was like pick your poison, and they can't just keep that old part of the track because they reclaimed a lot of trees. I remember they mentioned this. So they had to replant the trees that they took away from the infield, which was there previously. And that's why they had to demolish the old circuit. I wish they kept the old circuit, but we also lost like that Silverstone section, which was pretty cool, to a car track now.
Was it Bank Corner? What was that one? Oh, Thingy Corner that they used to go. Bridge Corner. Bridge.
Yes, Bridge.
Yeah.
Because I was there last year. As well.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I know. Floor Genius is here with us as well, and he said, bring back the Nordschleifer and F1, but it's so dangerous. It's the curbs. The curbs are so high, aren't they? I think
this year, in these cars as well, like, I just don't think it would work. There's too many bumps around that circuit, especially. And the thing is, the same issue I'm going to mention now. You can't overtake there, and the dirty will be a problem, and it'll be really dangerous. Like in 1970s, it was dangerous in F1. Imagine in 2020, 2025. So it just won't happen. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
I always remember because Mansell won it in 1991. He won in Germany at Hockenheim, and at that point, Arkis is in here too. It's great to see you, Arkis. He's a one who can fire in those time trial laps, and it always beats me. I've never beaten him for years. I've always tried, and but no, he's very, very fast. Good to see you all. And we can also put your questions to Levi as well. Just let me know in the comments, and we'll put them through to Levi as well. But no, it's amazing because, as I was saying, when Mansell won in 1991, it was only because the Williams was relatively reliable that there was any kind of championship fight at all, because Senna was kind of running away with it.
I remember that.
He won 3 races on the trot, and the last one being Hockenheim, and he got within, I think, 6 or 9 points of Senna, and it was really closing up. And then I think they went to either, was it Portugal? And then, of course, Mansell failed to finish because his tyre came off at a pit stop.
I know most of this. I actually know quite a lot about F1 history. I just don't know the level that you know, because obviously you were there. So it's even easier to remember things. Yeah, I'm kind of like anything from like 2004, 2005 onwards. I know a lot. Yeah.
Well, that was a great era. I mean, I know people said it was a bit boring, but actually there were some fantastic races, and the cars were incredible. I mean, those V10 engines.
They were still very small.
Yeah, and I mean the Renault that Alonso had was a great car. You know, it was beautiful when they had it at Abu Dhabi a couple of years ago when they were interviewing Lewis Hamilton.
It was
and in
brilliant.
the background he stopped because he heard the car go past, and he said, "Oh,
it was amazing.
That sounds amazing, isn't it?" But that's the thing. So for those of you who have just joined us in the last few minutes, this is Levi for Leviticus, who is one of the fastest drivers out there in GT7. You will have seen him on Rory's videos, on Tisney's videos, very often up there battling away, getting great results. And of course, the SMA GT500 Champion. And so it's been a fantastic to get you on the show and interviewing you and finding out exactly how you approach racing. And I think you are like Schumacher in that way, with the way that you come at it from your thinking perspective and the way that you manage the race. Because I always thought you were just that level above, because you could come to any point in the race where you were maybe not where you wanted to be, maybe down in fourth or fifth after pit stops. And even I thought, I don't know if he's going to do it this time. But then
that was Daytona.
And you came back up there and you did it. So it's a very encouraging. You're one of these guys who never gives up and then comes back
very
with
stubborn.
a great strategy. And for those watching as well who maybe missed the start, you were saying the amount of work that you guys put in at TNR to try all these strategies. That's what gives you the practice. So you're comfortable on every tire and every strategy. And that's what helps you be totally prepared for the race, which is a great thing. Now, Sir Max has got a question for you. How many times has your wheel disconnected this week and that controller has had to work overtime?
Honestly, it's been kind of a nightmare. It's just the Nordschleife with Group 1. It's a terrible combo. Lots of bumps because the wheel can't handle it. It's just the actual frequencies at which the wheel can try and basically share what's going on with your hands. It just happens when it disconnects like that. If you're in Group 3, it's not going to happen nearly as often. It just happens when you're driving a really fast car in a really bumpy circuit. The wheel does not like it at all. So definitely not ideal. But listen, it happens sometimes. It goes through flow, ebb and flows. Sometimes it's really bad, sometimes it's not bad. But luckily I'm okay on controller that if anything does happen, I can save it. I can save the day, kinda.
That's a skill. Now, Arkes, who is in the chat there, he is a controller expert as well. Yes, but he can do these great times on the controller. And I think, I've got my wheel, I can surely beat him. But no, he's still ahead of me. So there's a definite skill because it's harder to be smoother out of the corners, isn't it? You're going to do a bit more tire wear when you're on controller compared to the wheel.
Oh, sorry. I was reading one of the chat messages and I zoned out. I'm sorry. What is your question?
No, that's right. No, I was saying if you use a controller, you tend to go through more tires in a race, isn't it? Because it's harder to be able to control that.
Because of the slip on the front tires is quite bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And now, Florida said, we now know Levi's weak point. Anyone for a race at Nordschleife. So.
Stop it. It's one of my best tracks. I just need to make sure the wheel doesn't disconnect. I'll just have to use some electronic cleaner and clean it up on all the connections here. And I just saw Woody Boy recommend that. Yeah. I did do that a couple of months ago before the official season. So I have to do that again just before I move. Yeah.
I'm going to say, what wheel is it? Because that's been asked by Arkes. What wheel are you using?
It's a DE Pro, a GT DD Pro, just the normal one with the a QR1 though. Yeah.
Yeah. Because do you find, a lot of Tisney uses, I think, a similar one to that.
Uses the same one, yeah.
Yeah, and it's only Rory that's gone to the T598.
Yes.
But do you think that, because that wheel is really made for Gran Turismo, isn't it? It was kind of the deal. Do you think that is probably the best wheel to actually have for that?
At the moment, the thing is, they did release the DD Extreme, which probably is now the best wheel if you've got the money to expend on it. just because it's got the buttons are even more refined now. It's basically the same thing, just better. Like in terms of just the actual aspect of like accessibility. I've seen it. But if you're looking for something a little cheaper, then probably GT Pro is also really good. But you do need the QR2 now, whatever it's called, because the QR1's not the new thing anymore. It's the older one. So if you get the QR2, it's probably the best because they've made the system a lot more basically future proof in a way. So it's a lot better. But yeah, that's just, I love this wheel. It is amazing. The community helped me get it. I actually remember I had to struggle to get this thing to South Africa already. So it really helped when some of the community members stepped in and helped me get it to South Africa. And then also through some family to get it to me. It was crazy. Yeah.
It's amazing to know the difference it makes, isn't it, when you finally get the wheel that you like and it just works. The combination just works, isn't it? That because that's I found from having a G923 Logitech to then going to this, it's like having two different cars. It's like one's having a Skoda and one's having a Porsche. It's like this is lovely. It's weighted so nicely. And it's such an and it's so much easier to turn a corner, and that the car will kind of hold its line. It kind of, the feel is a bit better, and the pedals are better, even though they're just the standard pedals that we use. That Whipperman has asked, he sometimes hears hydraulics on occasion. Do you have an upgraded brake?
I definitely do. I had one of my friends, Thomas. He's a longtime viewer of the channel. He sent me very generously a load cell brake kit from Fanatec. So I got that installed, I think March last year, and it was probably one of the best upgrades I've ever got. It's sensational. You can actually know exactly how much you're braking without even like thinking about it, which is what makes it insane. It's like it's very intuitive. I've got it set to a specific percentage of how much I want to press the pedal, and ever since then, the control you have with it is insane. It helps a lot more with road cars more than race cars, because obviously road cars you need to be a bit more precise with the braking because there's a lot less grip. The brakes, you're on them for much longer because there's less grip. But it still helps a lot with the race cars as well, with the minute details of saving tires, for example, just being very precise. It's basically just adding more precision. It doesn't make you faster. It can make you more consistent, though. Definitely.
Yeah. Because when I first got this, I was 3 seconds a lap slower, and on its standard settings, and I think, it
takes time.
Oh, definitely it was horrible. And thankfully, one of my subs gave me some of the settings, the recommended settings. So I started using them, and that helped a huge amount just to kind of get the car to work, because it was like you go around half around the corner and then it would kind of go the other way, and you're like, no. It was like it was kind of stuttering and bumping and everything, and I thought, I've just paid 450 quid for this, and I'm like, and it's not working. So no, it's quite a thing. Now, Samaz has asked the question. He says, what is your favorite engine swap?
Wow. GT7? I remember there was this one with the Ferrari engine swap for the Alfa Romeo, but that was quite undrivable. Probably the Bugatti engine I think it was in the Nissan GTR. I don't know if that's the one. I think it is the one. It's just it's ridiculously quick, and honestly, I love the Nissan GTR as a standalone car. The R35, I think it is. Yeah, that was a really cool combo. Just stupidly fast. Yeah. Really ridiculous, but that's not my favorite car though. It definitely was the Valkyrie, which was what we raced in recently. That car, wow, honestly, that thing, I want to race that again. It just takes a lot of patience to drive that car, but if you know how to be really smooth with it, it rewards you a lot.
It wasn't as hard to drive as I thought it would be, because some of these hypercars are kind of crazy and they're really difficult, but actually you can see the design that's gone into it, that it is amazing. And it's like that, the Murray T15 thing, isn't it? The way that they drive.
That's also one of my favorites as well. I love that car. I want Gran Turismo to add that car to the game. It's the Gordon Murray T50, or I think it's that.
I think it is. Yeah. I mean,
the thing is, it's just brilliant. That's so cool. Honestly, it's driver centric. It's not focused about being being the most powerful, most fastest car, but it's just a light supercar. It is a supercar. So the lightest supercar you can probably get with the V10, I think. What more can you ask for? It's brilliant.
We actually saw one testing I was at a driving event about 3 years
Oh, that's
ago
brilliant.
down at Millbrook, and we were on the oval, and they were testing this thing, and you could hear it with the noise because it would just
Oh
come
my
on a bit and
word.
fly
I'm
past you.
jealous.
And I took a little
That car is
video.
so cool.
Yeah,
I
no,
love that car.
it was an amazing thing. Of course, Dario Franchitti has done a lot of the
Yes, he's the
testing.
test driver. He's the test driver, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna, if anyone on the channel knows him, I'm trying to get him on the show. I actually saw him in Edinburgh one time, and I've got links through the Jim Clark room in Duns because he's a trustee on there, and he has Jim Clark sold Lotus Cortina,
Oh,
and he
wow.
brought it down for a while. So yes, I would like to get him on the show, and potentially we might be able to get Alex Brundle because he's a friend of mine on Facebook, and I've been
Oh,
trying to
that's
just
really cool.
because I know him through Josh Martin and through Super GT.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that I can maybe get Alex Brundle on the show at some point. So that would be
Okay.
a big one. And then I'm going to try and get some more touring car drivers and a few other drivers as well as they come on. But now Sir Mags has asked me a question, and he said, "What's your favourite sounding car of all time?" Well,
It's a good question.
it's a great question, but it's one that I think you might like. I loved the F1 cars of 1993, especially the Ferrari of Jean Alesi.
It was a V12 you said,
It was
right?
a V12,
Yeah.
and it was like 17 or 18,000 RPM. If you're on YouTube at some point, if you
I've
put it in,
no, I've definitely heard it. Trust me, I'm a nerd. I've definitely looked into
yeah.
that.
Oh,
Yeah, I can.
astonishing sound. And I remember watching it in 93. And the thing is, when the Williams Renaults came past, they were loud,
Yes.
but it was quite a harsh sound, the V10
Yes.
engine of that. The Ford V8s, they were quite rough. But the V12 Ferrari was like an opera. It was just like an opera singer as it drove past. You know, it was
Can
incredible.
imagine.
It was just the best. But I love the Ferrari Enzo and the
The
Enzo
2000.
FXX. I love
Oh, the
that.
FXXK is also a really cool one. Yeah, I remember the 20 the La Ferrari FXX. If you know what I'm talking about, that one sounds amazing. So it's a V12. Obviously, it's absolutely kitted out, but also the 2004 V10 Ferrari. You know, I've heard that in real life
they're
once.
amazing.
It's insane.
Yeah,
The
they are
V10s are
incredible.
crazy.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can see it in Abu Dhabi. They've got it in Abu Dhabi at the Ferrari World, and I think they may even have it in Barcelona as well. They've got one there.
Stunning car.
German Kiwi, one of the fastest
Yes.
guys out there, and very much on Tidney's videos, like Arkies and others. German Kiwi normally is on pole position, and he says he's asking you if you could give one tip to get faster for drivers with limited time. What would it be?
Well, I've always said this several times, though. I also said it earlier in the stream as well. Firstly, always watch the replays. And I actually, right now, also use the Coach Dave Academy app that also has that thing where you can record someone's lap and then you can watch exactly their like throttle, brake inputs, their tire temperatures, all the like details. It does help me as well because I'm a bit of I can understand how to read those graphs, and it helps me understand like the data and like what people are doing. But if it's a little bit inaccessible, unless you want to pay for that. But in my opinion, it's actually crashing a lot. I know it sounds counterintuitive, Kiwi, but basically pushing the limit, going into a corner or every corner, and knowing exactly how much you can actually go into the braking zone, like brake as late as possible, or how early you can go on the throttle. It's really important to figure that out. And then once you know the limits, you can just hit retry if you crash. And now you know, okay, you can't do that. Go again. I know. The thing is, though, it's also when you've got limited time, it means limited track time, which means you struggle to be able to like adapt quick enough. It's honestly just even watching other people, it can help a lot. You know, there's a lot of streamers out there. You can share their perspective. You can see exactly what they're doing in the live timing. So just basically putting in the time and then also observing it for yourself what you're doing. It helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that's it. That's the thing, isn't it? To try and get faster. And it is little tricks and little things, isn't it? There's a different perspective, I think, even just where your eyes are viewing, isn't it? It's like, I remember
definitely.
watching Driver
Looking
61.
into the apex.
Yeah, and well
Yes.
beyond, because I think it's very easy, especially if you're following a ghost, to just follow the car.
That's
and
also
not
the thing. Yeah,
Carry
don't
on,
follow
carry on.
ghosts. You don't want to follow ghosts, even though it can help you go faster. When you're in the actual like race, for example, when you don't have a ghost, if you're like reliant on when a ghost breaks, when a ghost turns in, whatever, it actually can make you slower. It makes you too reliant on what the ghost is doing in front of you and what you're actually supposed to be looking at ahead. You're not supposed to be looking just in front of you. You're supposed to be looking quite at the apex or further beyond the apex already before even going into the corner. I've seen like a lot of people who can they basically abuse that, so they get really good quality times, but then in the race they're a lot more inconsistent. So I think honestly, to build up the consistency, you should actually use references around the track, brake markers that you know are reliable, than rather just relying on a ghost where they break. It just won't help you in the long term. It'll just hinder you, really. Yeah,
that's quite interesting because I use Sydney's ghost a lot. On
yeah,
certain tracks when I'm nowhere, like at Fuji, I was nowhere on race B, and I'm normally quite good there, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I tried the Ferrari, and I was reasonable. I was like, but then I thought, right, I need to. Then I tried the Porsche, and I couldn't go anywhere with the Porsche. I had no speed at all. Then I went back to the Ferrari and loaded up his Ghost, Tinder's Ghost, and then I got a 39.6, I think it was.
Yes.
So it was a wee bit better. And but it's kind of, it is, I know what you mean, if you're relying on it, because you need to have the race pace naturally yourself, isn't it, to be able to be consistent. But Woody Boy is saying that's his problem. He gets too focused on the Ghost, although he does do incredible times on the time trial, which is the thing. And then Tina Wiffin said, Beyond the Apex, that's a cool movie name. Oh, we've got them. That's the thing. But no, it's fantastic having everybody in the chat here. And please keep your comments coming. In fact, now Sir Mags has asked, if you had to start over as an E-rated driver, how quickly would you get your A+ rating?
You know, honestly, that maybe is a cool idea to do it again. I did do that for my American account. I remember back in the day. It was about 2023 when I made an American account. You know, honestly, maybe I should give it a go, because the thing is, it'll be cool to have another alternate account, and also some great content. I've seen some great content from other YouTubers going into E-rated lobbies when you're an A+ driver and seeing the stark difference. And it's not like really, it's not bullying per se. It's just basically just illustrating the gap in skill. It's also kind of interesting to understand. Call the stream Beyond the Apex. That's a pretty cool name, though. Yeah. But I think honestly, if I was grinding out like a daily race B, if the daily race B is all I'm going to do in a week, it could probably take me maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. If I'm streaming every day, though, a daily race B for like 3 hours every day, then I could do it in like 5 or 6 streams. The thing is, though, you are capped. You have to do a specific number of races before you get into like a D-rated, and then C, B, and A. It's also dependent on how popular the race is. If the race isn't popular, you're not going to have as many high ratings, so you're not going to be put into the lobbies as often to gain more DR. So it all depends. If it's popular, it's great for the time it takes.
Yeah, I know, that's it, isn't it? A German Kiwi has said it's good practice in reacting to unpredictable drivers.
Definitely,
isn't it? I've been watching Rory's videos. When he started at the back or in an E-rated lobby, and then worked his way up to see if he could actually win a race from the back, and it was really tough. But they were actually excellent videos. Because it's it was all the detail that went into it, and the funny things that happened along the way. I'm hoping to have Rory on again soon, because it's been a little while since we've had him on, so hopefully we'll have him on again soon. And I think that if I remember this correctly, I have put your YouTube channel link in the description.
Thank you.
So please, if you haven't already subscribed to Levi's channel, make sure you do, because the link is there, and if not, we'll get it for you.
Thank you.
We'll put that in. Feel free to put that in the comments, and we can make sure that you get you some more subscribers out of tonight's show. But so what would you say is your ambition now going forward in the next few years in GT7 and in sim racing?
Well, at the moment, it's kind of at a hiatus period right now, because obviously, like I mentioned earlier, Gran Turismo 8 is coming. We know it is coming. It's on the horizon. It's not too far away. I'm almost certain it's probably maximum a year and a half away, depending on the Gran Turismo GTA 6 launch, because I think that's what everyone is trying to dodge. They don't want to release their game at the same time period as that game, because that game is going to take the world by storm like it always does. But I see myself sticking around at least another year or two, because I've still got like a business to run, and I've got obviously family, and I'm still building my own like life right now. And sometimes it takes some time to balance everything, which is why I've streamed a little less this year. But I do see myself sticking around to make like a few videos, like one video a week, streaming 3 times a week, making a couple of shorts, and just enjoying what like sim racing has to offer. Like I've also enjoyed LMU Le Mans Ultimate, which is a great game, and then we've also got AC Evo coming out. I haven't really dabbled in that because it's early access and it's on PC. I'm really wanting to have console racing though, to be honestly, because it's a lot more accessible than just when you're on PC. You have to spend a lot of money, which is not ideal, especially someone in South Africa with the exchange rate not being great. But I'm really excited, and I'm also excited for the MSA Cup that's coming up in Gran Turismo 7 in the near future. I think in June. Hopefully, I can compete in that, and maybe if I miss maybe a round or two, hopefully I can still be racing in the top split. We'll just have to see because we don't know how long it takes to like transfer your internet to the next property. We just have to see. It's a building site right now. I'm currently juggling my like moving and also like fixing up the place right now, so it's been quite busy, but it looks amazing. It's my first ever property that I'm going to be owning, which is exciting. A lot is happening, but we'll just have to see how it goes. I
was going to say, you said that you run a business as well.
Yes,
so
I do.
What is your business?
So recently I actually have the business transferred to like more, it's not full ownership yet because my mom is still the main owner, but she's actually kind of retiring and moving to the UK with other family, but I'm still staying here because I love the shop. It's a dog grooming parlor. We've had that for 9 years now, and I just didn't want to get rid of it, so I want to be part of it. And
did you say sorry?
Honestly,
a dog grooming?
Yes, dog grooming parlor. Yes, and it's brilliant. Honestly, I love working with animals already. It's another passion of mine. And it's been doing really well, honestly. And I've also got quite a few fresh ideas because I can make my own videos. I can edit really well. And I can be the face of the business now. And I can do what I want in terms of the advertising on Instagram, TikTok, etc. And it's really exciting.
Animal videos, or especially dog videos, isn't it? Dog and cat
for sure.
Are very popular.
Yeah, and I'm also a good cook.
We're from Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm also a good cook. Yeah, I'm also planning on doing some like cooking streams in the new home because the new home will at least be a lot more accessible to do that. Because I used to do some cooking streams even on Twitch when the basically it was just all on the same level. Right now there's a stairway, so all the fiber optics and stuff is upstairs, and I can't just like run a cable through the whole house. It doesn't sound practical. But the new place, the kitchen's quite close to my office. That I'm building currently, so I can actually just move things there and then start like doing a cooking stream, which will be so cool. I can't wait for that. But yeah, honestly, I'm just gonna be having a lot of fun, treating this as like a hobby per se. I've got no intentions of going full time. I don't think I can do that. I just think it'll be more fun for me just to do it casually and not full time because it sounds stressful, really stressful. You rely on like income from an internet thing. If you could do both at like a decent balance, and that sounds like pretty good to me.
Oh, that's fantastic though, and I do wish you all the best in the new home and for continued success in the business, and of course continued success on track in GT7 because it's you're certainly showing, and you've made a huge impact on GT7. And many people see you now on the videos. They've seen you in the SMA GT500 Championship, and then of course going on to MSA as well. And they enjoy your streams. Whether it's been on Twitch or on YouTube, isn't it? It's you've made your impact there, and that's growing, it's great. And also you're a big star for South African sim racing, a bit like David Perel, because he did a lot for sim racing at the start, didn't he? And then he was in racing as well beforehand, and then now he's doing more motor racing as well. And I remember interviewing him a few years back, and he said that GT7 or at that time GT Sport was his go-to sim in many ways because he would go and practice on that for up to 90 minutes maximum, and then try and perfect his skills there. And now he's gone on to do the sim grid and all of the wonderful things that have emerged.
He's done a great job
from there with Coach Dave, isn't it, and things like that. And hopefully we'll have him on at some point again later on in the year. But he's now much busier than he was before. But no, that's the thing. Is there anything you would like to say? Because obviously you're a big part of the TNR team, and you've got many of your viewers watching today. And what would you like to say back to your community and that you've been building?
I'm just really focused on trying to bring a lot of younger talents into GT as a whole, because the thing is, right, for example, getting into competitive sim racing is quite difficult as is, but at least Gran Turismo, it's console, you can do it on controller pretty well. You are limited slightly by some factors like we mentioned earlier, but then also just the fact that you just have to buy the game, you can be on a wheel, you can be on a controller, you can be on a G29, like even DQ, my teammate is, and you could do a really good job, right? So I'm really hoping, and I'm also trying to push for the South African scene to get better and better and better, because I know that if people keep improving, I'm going to keep improving. And I really hope in Gran Turismo 8 especially, we can have an extremely competitive championship with maybe even more drivers than 16 in the field, which would be great.
Yeah, it would be great.
Like this season was a great step forward. We had like 10 drivers at least within a very short, like small time span. So just keep growing the scene. I'm really enjoying my time with TNR. It's been great so far. And, we'll just have to see how the future how it comes, and just enjoy it, really.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. Well, I know it's going to be late across where you are. It'll be 9:15, and you've been very kind to give us so much of your time tonight. Really appreciate it. And I know we've covered a lot, but I'd love to have you on the show again. It's been an absolute pleasure. And maybe the next time we have what's his name, Valerio Gallo. We've had him on the show not long after he won his Olympic championship a couple of years ago. We had him and Mikhail Hizal on at the same time, which was amazing. Our Christmas special. So that was good fun. And we had Kirith. I was going to say, because you were on a video with Kirith only just a matter of a few days ago, or a week or two ago, which was very interesting, because that was all about the Formula One, kind of all the funny things going on there, wasn't it? With the cheating in the esports. That was a very interesting.
Just trying to get involved a bit more.
Kirith is excellent. I've had him on the show before. I'm hopefully going to be interviewing one of his the kind of YouTube partner that he has who does the go-karting. I'm hoping to get him on the show as well. But no, it's been fascinating hearing your story and getting your tips for going faster. And Kirith is your cousin. Is that true? Or is that?
I think he's joking. I think he's joking.
Whipperman, you are winding me up. Because I was going to say, if he is your cousin, then I'm expecting him on my show then. You've got to be able to convince him to come back on. That so that's the thing. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and you're welcome back anytime. And hopefully we'll get to speak to you again during the MSA Championship. I'm sure you'll be on that podium and doing a great job there. But I know with the house move, with internet connections and all that, it's all held up tonight. It's all
it's gonna be tough. But the thing is, right, I've got a plan. We'll have to see what happens. I think for the first 2 races of the season, I'm going to be racing on the mobile data. So probably doing if I do well, doing an interview will probably be impossible, because it just probably won't work. But we'll just try and make our best. Put our best foot forward with the Group 4 rounds, especially with those cars, and we'll just see what happens.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do extremely well, and it's great. So please stay on the line as we come to close the show. But to everybody watching, you've been watching the Hugh Hatrick Show with our very special guest, Leviticus, all the way from South Africa.
Ciao, guys.
And the SMA 500 GT500 Champion of the world, as David Crofton would say. But it's been great to have you on the show, and thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all very soon. Drive fast and try not to crash. Bye just now.